my name's Amanda and welcome to the 8th block tutorial in my Star Sampler Quilt Along With Me series. In today's video I am going to be showing you how to make this very simple crystal star block. So far in this series I think this is one of the most easiest blocks that we will make. It is made simply out of flying geese units and a snowball type block in the center. Before I get into showing you how to make this block, there is one bit of advice I would like to share with you first. When you have completed the center unit, make sure to square it up to exactly 6.5 inches. It will be slightly bigger if you don't, and then you'll sort of have issues with your piecing and making sure all of the seams nest up. So just make sure that you trim this center unit to 6.5 inches and you'll have no issues. It is a very hot day today and I'm slowly melting. Oi. As always, you will find all of the measurement and cutting instructions for this block down in the description box below. There is also a link to the pattern sheet for you to download and print off and use as you piece the block together. And so with all of that said, this is how we make the crystal star block. The fabrics I'm using to make this block include the Kerchief Solid for the background, Print Shop Moons in Grass for the first print, and XOXO Basics in No. 2 pencil for the second print. So to make the crystal star block, you will need to cut 4 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles, 2 4-inch squares, and 4 3.5 inch squares from your background fabric, 1 4 3/4 inch square from your first print fabric, and then 8 3.5 inch squares from your second print fabric. To begin, place the 4 background fabric squares, rectangles, and 8 second print fabric squares to one side. Take the 2 leftover 4-inch background fabric squares and evenly place one on top of the other. Then with a ruler and blade, cut them neatly in half, resulting in 4 half-square triangle pieces. Next, take the center square and evenly fold it in half and then half again, gently pressing down the folded edges. Then open the square back out again. Grab a cut background fabric triangle and fold it perfectly in half. Using the folded lines as a guide, line up the top edge of the triangle with one edge of the square. Both pieces should center perfectly together. Pin the 2 pieces together along the top edge and then sew a 1/4 inch seam along it. Gently press this seam outwards using a medium to hot steamy iron. Grab another background fabric triangle and fold it evenly in half. Line up the folded lines again and then pin the top edge together. Sew a 1/4 inch seam down this edge and then gently press the triangle outwards. Before finishing the other 2 sides, quickly trim off the bunny ears from either side to eliminate any excess bulk in the unit. From here, repeat the same set of steps to finish the center unit of the block. Lastly, with a 6.5 inch set square ruler or equivalent, use the markings on the ruler to center it. Then carefully trim off the excess, leaving a 6.5 inch center square. Next, begin making the flying geese units by marking a line along the wrong side of each of the 8 second print fabrics with a ruler and pencil. Grab one of the background fabric rectangles and place a marked square into one corner, face down and with the pencil line running inwards towards the center of the rectangle. Carefully pin the square into place and then sew on top of the pencil line from one corner to the other. Using a ruler and blade, cut off the excess corner, leaving behind a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then press the triangle corner outwards with the iron. Next, take another marked square and place it along the opposite side of the rectangle, again with the marked line running inwards towards the center of the rectangle piece. Pin it into place and then sew again on top of the marked line from one corner to the other. Trim off the excess corner fabric, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then press the triangle piece outwards. Then from here, repeat the same set of steps to make another 3 flying geese units, totaling 4 altogether. Once all units for the block have been pieced together, lay them out into the crystal star block design, using the pattern sheet as a guide if needed. Starting with the middle row, flip a flying geese unit over onto the center unit. Carefully line up the points in each of the triangles and then pin the edge evenly into place. Then do the same thing with the flying geese unit on the opposite side. Starting with one side, sew a 1/4 inch seam along it, taking the pins out as you go. Then turn it around and sew another 1/4 inch seam along the other pinned edge. Gently press each of these seams outwards towards the flying geese units. Next, pin the top row together by evenly flipping each of the corner squares over onto the flying geese unit and pinning into place. Then do the same with the bottom row of units. At the sewing machine, take your time and sew a 1/4 inch seam along all 4 of the pinned edges. Then press each of the seams outwards towards the corner square units. After placing all of the rows back into place, turn the top row over onto the middle one. Like before, evenly line up together the triangle points and then pin them into place. Line up each of the other seams along the top edge and pin together. Sew another 1/4 inch seam, ensuring all seams are lying flat before sewing over them. Gently press this seam upwards towards the top row of the block, and then begin piecing on the last row in the same way as the top one. Sew one last 1/4 inch seam along this edge, taking the pins out as you go. Again, press this seam towards the bottom row and then give the top of the completed block a good final press. Lastly, square up the block with a set square ruler so that it measures approximately 12.5 inches squared. So one last bit of advice when making this block: when you're squaring it up at the end, the block might be just slightly smaller than 12.5 inches. Don't panic if it is. Just make sure that it measures past your 1/4 inch seams on the outside of your ruler and it should be fine. So I know that a lot of time has passed between block 7 and block 8. I do apologize for sort of keeping you in suspense when bringing out these tutorials. I do apologize, and I do thank you for your patience. A lot of things have happened in the last month or so: Christmas, holidays, work, and everything else in between. So I'm hoping not as much time will pass in between now and when I bring out block 9. I will try my very best to start working on that this week. The block that we will be making is another slight variation from the crystal star block and from the block that we did for block 7, which was the Indian star block. It's got the same type of layout, but there's just a few different little twists in it to make it different. So before block 9 comes out, don't forget to share all of your block 8 blocks with me. How many times did I just say block? But wherever you are in this series, please keep sharing your blocks with me, because I absolutely love seeing them and I just love your enthusiasm, and also it just keeps me motivated to keep making the blocks and the tutorials for you and to, yeah, just keep going. Anyway, so with that, friends, before I melt away in this horrible heat, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you another time very soon. Bye!